Great. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I am Shamiza David from Between the Covers Bookshop. And this morning, I have the absolute pleasure of speaking with Terrence D Isaacs. He is a Guyanese living in the UK. He's a medical doctor specializing in psychiatry. And he has written this incredible book, You Are Your Biggest Critic, 30 Lessons to Learn Before Turning 30. So I'll allow Terrence to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about what was his inspiration for putting this book together.
Hi everybody, and thank you very much, Misa, for having me on and for doing this. My name is Terrence, as Shaniza already mentioned. I really got inspired to write this book based on a lot of the experiences I was having in my own life and interactions with other people that I got into contact with, whether it be friends, whether it be when I was in Guyana actually, and volunteering with the Ministry of Health. I've come into a lot of young people, and thinking about my own life experiences, I was like, you know what, these are very important life lessons that I think someone else can benefit from. And I started doing these 28 posts in 28 days thing on Facebook for my 28th birthday. And that was really that was the beginning really of, this book, because I was thinking, let me make these posts on Facebook and hopefully inspire somebody. But I never actually got around to completing those posts, which I also talk about in the book. And I thought about why not compile this information, add more of my actual life stories to them, and then put it into a book so that other people can benefit from it. So that's basically how You Are Your Biggest Critic came about, of course, besides recognizing that I was my own biggest critic.
Yes, excellent. So, two questions. First, can you give us a little snippet of one or two of these lessons we need to learn before turning 30? And then, given the current climate that we're living in, we're in the middle of a pandemic and people are struggling with that in various ways, how much more relevant is this book now, given what is currently happening?
Very, very good questions. One of the two lessons that I would say it will be both relevant to our current situation, given the pandemic, and things that, I think is very important for persons of any age really to, kind of come to terms with. One is that sometimes you have to get lost, or you need to lose yourself to find yourself. And a lot of people throughout the pandemic had lost what they thought life was about. One, people were either laid off from work. People were like, I have no idea what I want to do with my life at this point in time, given the restrictions that the pandemic brought about and how things changed drastically. And that was actually one of the chapters in the book and one of the life lessons, losing yourself to find yourself. And I kind of explored how throughout my, middle 25 and above years, where even though I was in medical school, I really didn't know specifically what aspects I really wanted to branch out into, and I really felt lost during that point in time. And I know a lot of people say, oh, but you're already in medical school. That's a great thing. But it's just to understand that even people who may seem to have things well put together may not necessarily have things well put together, which is another lesson in the book really, which is, success is relative, and not because someone else seems to be, getting ahead or doing things a certain way necessarily means that they are successful. And that's why it's always important to not compete with other people or compare yourselves to other people, because what that ends up doing, it robs you of actually, reaching your full potential, because you're using someone else as a yardstick instead of your own life experiences. And I think in this particularly environment with COVID and things, being changed so drastically, we need to not compare ourselves to other people, because our journeys are not their own and our journeys are just for us. So whether it's a case of we're not getting where we want to at this point in time, it is okay. And why I say it's okay is because we oftentimes get where we need to get when we need to get there. And oftentimes we put these little rigid restrictions around, when you're supposed to do something. But in actuality, we're all on our own journey, and we're going to get to the finish line at our own pace and at our own time when we're supposed to.
Excellent. And I can relate to both of those. I mean, as you rightfully said, during the pandemic, it really allowed people to start to recenter and refocus. And that's really how Between the Covers was birthed, actually, because I found that I was actually getting time to read, before pre-COVID. It was just running around working, studying, everything. And so you never really took the time to sit and enjoy a book as much as I did when I was younger. So that's really how Between the Covers was birthed. And so now, I want to share that with other people. And so try to provide books of varying, genres and categories that can resonate with persons regardless of where they are currently. And I think this book would be critical for across the board, all audiences. And so I have one more question for you.
That's fine.
So the book the book is called 30 Lessons to Learn Before Turning 30. So if that ship has already sailed, I've already passed 30. Do I still need to read this book?
Yeah. So I guess you want to know in terms of, is this book still relevant to people that are over 30?
Correct, yes.
And as I always said, the lessons in the book, while I think it's quite useful for people, young adults, people, coming out from teenage years to, they're now transitioning to adulthood, that it's very good for them to understand these lessons, because oftentimes society tells young people that, hey, this is the yardstick that you need to kind of measure up to, and you need to complete this by this age and that by that age. And in essence, young people start to almost race against a clock where there shouldn't really be.
Correct.
But
Correct.
Sometimes what happens, and people get to 30 and then they think that they've failed. They think that, oh my God, my life is a complete mess because I haven't achieved X, Y, and Z. I'm not married. I'm not in the job I want to be in. I didn't have the house and land and the fancy cars. And if we get to sit back and relax and think about it, those things are not, they're great to have, but that's not really what should matter. What really matters is how are you developing, how are you evolving. And that's why the lessons in the book are very important for even persons who have gotten to 30 and haven't achieved those things that they may have think they needed to achieve. And it allows you to kind of, as you mentioned before, refocus and think about what's really are the priorities, what really are the things that you need to actually be looking after. Like, for instance, are you loving yourself? Are you loving others? Are you allowing yourself to fail forward? Are you finishing, what you've started? Are you able to set goals, etc.? And these are some very important lessons that, it doesn't have an age limit or when to learn them. So I think even for persons over 30, it is still very valuable information, very valuable lessons that they as well. I'm over 30, and I think I still go back to the book. I still go back to some of the things that I've talked about in the book to help me recenter myself when, I'm feeling stressed, when I'm feeling, overwhelmed. And I think that anybody, regardless of age really, the lessons are going to be very valuable and very useful for them as a good way to continuously to self-develop. And I think one of the other things is because the book comes with so much practical steps of how to go about achieving these things, that it makes it more easier for you to really own in and come up with better ways to deal with things moving forward.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share this with us, Terrence. And so I just want to close by letting persons know how they can actually get this book. So depending on where you're located, you can order directly off Amazon. Or, of course, if you're in Ghana, you can order through Between the Covers. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Between the Covers, or WhatsApp at 616-0077. and I'd be happy to take your order and get the book here for you. I think everyone should get into this book and get in on these 30 lessons, as we like to say, 40 is the new 30. So yeah, we would still have the relevance. So thanks again, and I really hope that persons are gonna take the opportunity to read this book. I certainly will. Good.
Thank you very much.